Well, good morning, everyone. My talk this morning is about making the now the focus of our lives, making the now the focus of our lives. We've heard it said in many ways that the present moment, right here, right now, is a gift. And that's why we call it the present. The Buddha said, don't get caught in the past because the past is gone. Don't get upset about the future because the future is not yet here. There is only one moment for you to be alive, and that is the present moment. Go back to the present moment and live this moment deeply, and you'll be free. Years ago, I learned a short mindfulness verse called a gata for waking up in the morning, and I've shared it here many times, but it's such a beautiful gata to memorize and to get in the habit of saying as soon as you notice you're awake. It goes, waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live each moment fully and to look upon all beings with eyes of compassion. You know, it sets such a beautiful intention for the day. You know, first thing, I smile. You know, I choose to greet this day with a smile and I relax my face. I choose happiness intentionally. I get to live another day. You know, how many people didn't wake up today, right? So I'm going to cherish this day. And so I vow to live each moment fully. I'm not going to waste any moment today not being present. And I want to see with the eyes of compassion. I want to offer loving kindness to myself and to everyone else. So I recommend waking up this way. You know, it's a beautiful, simple mindfulness practice to start your day right. In the book, The Grace in Aging, Kathleen Singh, she wrote that we have to ask ourselves, are we here now? Are we here in this present moment? Or are we spending our lives searching for marvels, you know, with our mind swirling with possibilities over here and memories over here, and missing the gift of the moment right here in front of us? You know, life right now is already a marvel, you know, that it all is a marvel. You know, the beautiful words of Psalm 138 say, I thank you for the wonder of my being. I thank you for the wonder of my being. You know, waking up, I smile and give thanks for the wonder of my being and for this moment and day that I get to be here. Do you ever see people missing really precious moments of their lives? And, you know, you just want to go and gently tap them on the shoulder and say, you really actually don't want to miss this moment. You know, this happened to me a few days ago. I was walking through the park just across the street and all the blooming old growth rhododendrons that are just going crazy right now. And it was a beautiful sunshiny day, and I passed this grassy area in the park where this adorable little girl, she was dressed in pink striped shirt and tights matching with little braids, and she was doing these beautiful perfect cartwheels and handstands into a flip and walking over and all these beautiful little gymnastics, you know, feats. And she was showing off for her dad. She was there with her dad. Her dad was sitting on the grass. And I looked at her dad, and he was just sitting there completely absorbed in his laptop. He had brought his laptop to the park, and he had this frown on his face, and he had all this tension in his face and body. And I was off in the distance, but I watched her for probably 5 minutes, and she was such a good little gymnast, so impressive. And her dad never looked up. He never looked up, and she was looking at him, and she was saying, Dad, watch, you know, and she got closer and closer with her cartwheels, and she seemed kind of lonely, really, with her dad being so tuned out. And I thought to myself, you know, he's not going to get that time back. And he wasn't being present for it. you know? I used to sing years ago, gosh, I used to sing that Harry Chapin song, The Cat's in the Cradle. Um, and that song actually came to mind when I was watching this daughter try so hard to get her dad's attention. Do you remember that song? My child arrived just the other day. He came to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away, and he was talking for I knew it. And as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. Do you remember that? That's such a great song. And then in the chorus, it expresses the child's longing. When you coming home, Dad? I don't know when, but we'll get together then, son. We'll have a good time then. Um, and then Harry Chapin, as he tells the story later in the last verse, the dad is actually lonely and he's reaching out to his son, and the son doesn't have time now. And it's the dad's voice in the last verse. I've long since retired. My son's moved away. I called him up just the other day. I said, I'd like to see you if you don't mind. He said, I'd love to, Dad, if I can find the time. You see, my new job's a hassle and the kids have the flu, but it's sure nice talking to you. It's been sure nice talking to you, Dad. And then the bridge, and as I hung up the phone, it occurred to me he'd grown up just like me. My boy was just like me. Such a powerful, kind of a sad reflection, really, on how the father wasn't present for his son, and now the son isn't present for him. And it's a powerful teaching on how if we're always living life for the future, if we're not being present in the now, we can miss what matters most. We can miss what is most valuable in life. The precious moments of really connecting, of laughing and playing and sharing and being still together, just being with each other. The late Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh describes being present as being mindful. He uses those interchangeably. He wrote, I define mindfulness as the practice of being fully present and alive, body and mind united. Mindfulness is the energy that helps us to know what is going on in the present moment. I drink water and I know that I am drinking the water. Drinking water is what is happening. How often do we like multitask? We're doing three different things and our mind is not even with those three things, right? So we each have our own relationship with the present moment and we can cultivate that. Sometimes we're friendly and we're welcoming the moment. And sometimes we fight the present moment, we resist it, or we ignore it because the mind is absorbed in somewhere else, some future concern or some maybe unhappy rumination of something past. Eckhart Tolle, he describes in The Power of Now how for most humans, we live in the past and the future, and then we just pay these brief visits to the now, to the present moment. And that if we want to be free of pain, that we need to learn how to have our dwelling place in the now, in this now, in this now, and pay just brief moments to the past or future, when we need them, when we're required to deal with practical aspects of our life, right? Imagine if the earth was devoid of humans and there were only plants and animals here. Would the past and future exist? With the question, what time is it? Or what's the date today? Would that have any meaning? The oak tree or the eagle would be amused by such a question. What time is it? Well, of course it's now. The time is now. What else is there? Animals and trees are not ruminating about how someone did something yesterday they didn't like, right? They are in the present moment. The birds are singing. The turtle over there in the park just swam across the pond and he's laying on the rock in the sun. And he's not thinking about future plans. And it's such freedom, really. I remember a song I wrote. I took a hike up above Castle Lake in Mount Shasta, and I was sitting at Heart Lake, and I wrote this little song on the rock. Uh, the words go, I forget what happened to me yesterday. I don't know what tomorrow may bring. But in this lovely moment of this lovely day, I want to laugh and dance and sing and bring joy to the world. Bring joy to the world. I'll sing it on another Sunday. But music makes us present, right? And Tolley says we can mostly live this way, with the majority of our attention in this moment, right here, right now. And that we only need brief visits to the future to make plans and to the past to reflect, to remember something. The way that nature is so present, it reminds me of one of my favorite poems. I know you know it. It's called "The Peace of Wild Things" by Wendell Berry. But he says it so perfectly. And after the news yesterday, this poem is especially poignant. He writes, "When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake up in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free." Mm. Such a beautiful example of leaving the worried mind behind and coming into the present moment and the peace of wild things, who don't tax their lives with future worry or past disappointment. Tolley says that unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear are caused by too much future and not enough presence. And that, conversely, guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, all forms of non forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence. Powerful, powerful teaching. In my opinion, I feel like we can store up richness from lovely moments being present. That's what I feel like I receive every day when I go out there with the wild things. Like I am storing up, I have this savings account of peace inside for the rainy days, for the more difficult moments. It's kind of like a surplus of equanimity for when the moment is stressful. So whatever comes, if we're able to work with the present moment versus against it, we have more peace, right? Like I said last week, we want to act as if we've chosen it. We chose this moment. There's a great old Zen story. I don't think I've told this. I hope I'm not repeating myself. But this story illustrates how to work with something versus against it, no matter what it is. So there was this Zen master, Hakuin. He lived in a town in Japan, and he was held in high regard for his wisdom, and lots of folks came to him for spiritual guidance and teachings. Well, it just so happened that the teenage daughter of his next door neighbor became pregnant. And when she was questioned by her angry parents as to who the father was, she blamed it on Hakuin, on the Zen master next door. And so, full of anger, these parents rushed next door and they accused the monk and they blamed him for this awful, terrible transgression. And they shouted at him and, that their daughter confessed that he was a father. And all he did was he responded calmly, "Is that so? Is that so?" And news of the scandal spread all around town, and he lost his reputation. But he wasn't troubled. No one came to see him anymore for spiritual teachings, but he was still at peace inside. And the baby was born, and the parents brought the baby over and said, "You're the father, you take care of the baby boy." And so Hakuin lovingly cared for the baby for the next year. Well, one day, the teenage girl, finally feeling some remorse, confessed to her parents that actually Hakuin wasn't the father. It was the young man that worked at the butcher shop down the street. So, feeling very distressed and remorseful, the parents went over to Hakuin and they profusely apologized and they asked for forgiveness. "We're really sorry. We've come to take the baby back. Our daughter confessed that you're actually not the father." "Is that so?" is all he would answer as he handed the baby back over to them. And so, what is the teaching in that story? The Zen master was so centered in awareness. He had no reactivity. For him, he didn't take anything personally. He wasn't anyone's victim. Um, he never fought with the present moment. He worked with it and not against it. A different person, of course, might be incredibly offended. They might want to sue the parents, and turn it into a big drama. But this Zen master, he understood the nature of people and their egos and their minds and their misperceptions and how quick the mind is to judge. And, even the baby, when they gave him the baby, he received that baby with love and cared for it and then handed it back when they asked for it. So he was in this non resistant state of equanimity and non attachment as well. There's a teaching in Buddhism I love called tathata, and it means the suchness of life. It means it is as it is, the suchness of life. That life is as it is and let it be so. And so Hakuin, was a great example of that, of just making the present moment into a friend no matter what it is, right? Something I've been learning, especially over the years being a spiritual leader, is to notice when a situation is charged, and that's just being present and being mindful. And when someone is in a reactive mode, when someone is stirred up and triggered, to just pause, to just wait to respond until I'm coming from a place that has no reactivity, right? And Eckhart Tolle speaks to this. He says, non-reaction to the ego and others is one of the most effective ways to diffuse a difficult situation versus escalate it, right? If we cannot react, then we actually bring out the sanity in others. Boy, does our world need a lot more of that, right? So the story of Hakuin is a great example. Hakuin didn't react from ego. He was trained. He was a master. He had mastered his mind. And of course, we have to take practical steps to protect ourselves from deeply unconscious people, right? We make clear our healthy boundaries. But we can do that without making those people enemies. And that's real growth, as a minister and as a person that wants to be peace on earth, I don't want to ever make anyone an enemy or a problem. And so refusing to react or to close my heart to anyone, that just keeps the love flowing. That keeps me open, that keeps me clear, that keeps me feeling good. So our greatest protection really is being conscious. And that's, our society, our world, humanity, that's what we need. When someone gets mad and complains or blames, say at work, we don't react. We can say or we can think, breathe, pause, return to this later, because I know then it'll be a different moment where peace is more possible because reactions have calmed down. So it is in the present moment that we can shift from wanting to react to choosing a better response. Thich Nhat Hanh used to always talk about stopping, the practice of stopping, to remember to stop, to pause, to breathe. And, you can use that song, in, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release. We can practice stopping and being present between phone calls, or between emails. We can give ourselves stopping and breathing mindfulness moments throughout the day. And we can practice being present and peaceful when we're cutting carrots, when we're making dinner. We can practice relaxation after we get home from work or after a hard workout. There's another lovely gata that's similar to the song I sang earlier from Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know it is a wonderful moment. So take a moment right now, just take a mindful breath in Let it feel like a cool, refreshing glass of water. We can feel that breath calms our body, it calms our mind. And Thich Nhat Hanh always talks about a half smile. Just a ever so slight smile relaxes the muscles in our face and it relaxes our nervous system. Being in this present moment, we don't think of somewhere else. We can be here, we can breathe, feel calm, smile, and be present together. Um, Ty shared that in a Zen monastery where he was staying, there was this inscription on the wall, and the last line read, "Don't waste your life. Don't waste your life." Our lives are made of days and hours, and each moment is precious. We don't know how long we have here. So we don't want to spend even an hour being stressed or resentful about anything. Happiness is available in this moment. We can practice transforming neutral feelings into pleasant feelings, right? So wherever we walk today, we can be planting peace. We can plant peace on the earth. We can not rush. We can do mindful steps, right? And we can grow peace in us. And we can be present for all the people in our lives and give them our full attention. We can breathe together and create happy moments. Really, we need each other. We depend on each other to bring a measure of peace. I need you to bring a measure of peace. You need me to bring a measure of peace. Each one of us, we add to the peace, right? So let us be present and mindful and dedicated to living each moment fully with compassion, with love, with peace, and with joy. And so may all beings, may you, may all your relations, may all the people in our prayers, may all of humanity, may all beings be present in peace and well-being. Let there be peace on this earth. Om Shanti. Om peace.